Hello, it's recorded that there are all kinds of predicate acts methods and rules with it, where and how there are types of identities of law who have well, that's not my capacity, that's not my job. And they blame on other things others are so, and they ignore a lot of things while they're blaming other things others are so. Well, because that's not my job. In other words, this breaching method set that up. And so they are worse than just fishing when they want to speak about power and when they're speaking about with MSNBC. Every day of predicate acts methods, every intercities connected. New Britain, Connecticut has roles with Wethersfield interbranch and intelligence, and the difference of that being and having been used remotely. They also change and fake what people say, and they're also constantly confessing and demonstrating this at the same exact time as a whole bunch of different countries. Because one of the way they do it is by confessing and demonstrating roles with differences brackets relative to constantly people are making fake sides of issues, timing where people are going to be. I saw it's not just against me. It's like a volume phenomenon. Like if there was a color in the water. I bet you this is constant. And the difference between them criminally foreign influence for that way with it and responsible for it the worst, or the overt criminal enterprises or the private ones that are parallel. That difference is also self-valued to hide behind. And the breaching method kept that. You keeps that. These are people, in other words, that are all together at the same time. Also, roles of people putting fake conversations with others, and in that, pretending that others have said that everyone's evil. They've been fabricating transcripts and doing that at our countries with people with psychiatry who have badges. And they have sick people with gavels with probate courts where they have people locked up in prisons and forced to mental evaluations at hospitals. Note where people are going to get forced when they're like when there's yelling. Note black pupils. When all along just someone yelling who's doing to get the Constitution on a bridge. And why and how we have rights that are too numerous to have to list simultaneously, for example. To get and Marbury versus Madison. A real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. Black pupils. How is this? How nature's a body shows us that we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time per its body as means to discern it. It shows it is generating that with the other species' bodies too, as the hyper invisible but still discernible. Ooh. Ron Adams. Ron Adams is one of the ones involved with pretending that I was growing marijuana. There's also an Officer Jerry Miller. He said that there's a Jerry Kerr. And there's more than one Jerry Kerr involved with predicate acts with people planting evidence on all sides of my house since I was a kid. And all sides of his own house, collusion with people doing it. Like Joe DeMauro for him. These are also people involved on Valley Crest I've been speaking about, further with town offices and with public television. The difference between their roles with public television or WFSB has roles. They attach me to fake conversations with the World Trade Center about the World Trade Center attack. A bunch of people tied to, and as ones associated with Valley Crest and Wethersfield had roles with the World Trade Center attack and predicate acts into databases roles too against kids that they didn't have classes with. And in other words, Ron Adams was pretending the same thing on YouTube. Joshua Julian is with a principal upskirt nature involved with other digital crimes with the intelligence communities, intercities, and their roles with shopping centers and malls with the World Trade Center attack, interstates and intrastates, intercities and intracities, intercampuses and intracampuses. Oh, who's Eric Crest? Who's Eric Crest, Ron Adams? Eric Eric Jensen said that people associated, he didn't say the FBI, but he said people associated with the FBI and with Connecticut State Police and with someone who was in my fourth grade class. I don't even think he went to my grammar school, South Saviello. He keeps getting brought up too with people tied to body dumping spots and his neighbors involved with wire crimes with some police that are switching names and various natures of fabricating conversations. And with Judge Napolitano, Ron Adams brought up Judge Napolitano too. Ron Adams brought up Judge Napolitano, not me. No. When he said he was at a wedding with Judge Napolitano. Are you speaking about Eric Jensen said that also there, in other words, there's an Eric Olson and a Matt Olson. Those are also ones. Mr. Neville is one of the ones on route associated with spots along Route 3 near and where an apartment is. I don't know if he still lives there, but it's all along Route 3, which also a conjunction to it is the state judicial branch offices. And these are also people with the Wethersfield Police Facebook page, with the ones who are into social media. And FBI has more obscure pictures on Twitter before the sale to X, and they're ducking behind that. See, intercities, they brought up predicate acts where they have crime methods where they Wethersfield Police attached me to fake conversations with themselves when I was a kid, and I was an adult. They've been planting evidences and using truths for lies. They have all kinds of wire crime acts and methods at the same time. And they have fake phone transcripts with that. So if someone tries to do that, they play stupid. They have digital crime methods where they replace the evidences and they've been hiding this from parents. In other words, and they've been measuring and maintaining. They're like a shell game. The people going after the overtly sick, all kinds of ways, rolls with the kids. While simultaneously, too, others being communicated for nature, that it communicates about the questions that nature communicates, like what's slavery about? Others communicate for nature, it communicates about that. And others communicate with them what our founders communicated about that. These are also people involved with foreign and domestic military families that are also medical families. In collusions with keeping American history read, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, and roles, keeping and having been roles, self-valuing uses of our founders' words, leaving out what they declassified about that, and censoring anyone who doesn't self-value roles with that. A whole bunch of people at each campus I went to were attached to fake ties, fake natures of ties to me. And those are the ones involved with the World Trade Center attack, including the name Mendez next to a Montessori school I went when I was first time I ever went to school. And I was 3. So then I was 4 when I went in Wethersfield on Valley Crest. It was right off of it, in other words. And there are people in that area on that street increasingly involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me. I found out it's also with predicate acts against me by the kids and family of a person associated with the databases there. And they have all kinds of medical, foreign and domestic medical, and roles their families with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and prosecutors and judges' family members, and wire crime acts and methods with the same house/S. People that used to live in the area years ago, and a whole bunch of people tied to them, time run in, and now they're trying to hide life progressions each year because this is relative to where they're saying, well, why didn't you do something about it? They already put me in fake communications at the police station with a kid when I was a kid and I was an adult. They already attached me to fake and changed digital. They hid that, what I recorded them doing way worse with the principal obscure nature than they put him in prison for. I caught him collusion with the prisons, forcing him to first. They use they use the Connecticut courts, people out of the state corrections offices and judicial branch offices, and through time that they have roles with more people involved then and now, with the leaders of the kids and the kids of the leaders of the kids, in ways that are recorded relative, because it's shutting everyone up and making everyone agree to self-value roles, pretending privacy is their motivation. It's not privacy because they're refusing to identify themselves, and all exceptions too. When I force people to bring it up to be legal issues, they won't get onto paper. Since I was a kid, that's why I'm bringing up the schools. They also lying about what they think about that, because they also put me in fake conversations about that in the background. The same people I caught more and more involved with this. I don't even know their names. I don't even know, and I had nothing to do with them. Some of them just walk by you and like try to take a picture. They'll tell you, and sometimes there's a whole bunch of different countries guilty at the same time. This is also how I figured this out, and their roles with uses of corners like. Well, so in other words, it's important to get them on paper, one name and sequence. There are judges and prosecutors and medical families, foreign and domestic, and military associated with a mobile gas station and I don't remember the name of the place. There's a place there. It's not. In other words. But the whole area too. There are the two people with the name Corone. In other words, they'll tell you too. They were influenced. In other words, that we never have verbal conversations. They're involved with intelligence intercities at New Britain Superior Court. I mean, at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut. They're involved with people involved also with town lines and the area around there. The corner of Town Line Drive and South State Highway, and the corners on Church Street in Old Weathersfield. Are people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Involved with a John DeMorrow throughout Weathersfield intercities, with various natures of organized crimes, with overt criminal enterprises and sexual and medical offenders of kids, including with the news collusions. WFSB has collusions with intelligence next to them with that, and Fox Connecticut News. And his educators are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, and they're involved next to Hartford Hospital, with the businesses next to it and the houses next to it through time. And these are places next to child campuses. These are people that have been planting predicate acts and fake roles with the names next to the campuses with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them, and self-value with the ones I don't know the names of, further involved with other areas on my street, as the ones like involved with their doctors who are refusing to get on paper and make fake exceptions. And they won't communicate with me at all on paper or other. I can't get one person to communicate with me since before the World Trade Center attack. This is also how they're recording things intercities that they don't want to, but they're doing it, and then they're hiding that too. And that's recording and confessing more, because the communications is distinct from what people say. So it's important. So WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others, and they're involved with intelligence in Rocky Hill, with police families, intercities. There's one with the name O'Brien involved with them, with intercities, with Weathersfield Police, Hartford Police, Rocky Hill Police, Newington Police. Ones with the name Cololo, further involved with more child abusers, leaders of the kids. Per Rick Sanfaglione too, or involved with a Brian Silver and a Fred Gruzet, with New Britain Superior Court, with predicate acts at Quinnipiac University, with a Kevin Harris, also with medical and sexual offenders of kids, and identity theft frauds with a Brent Leahy family and others with Hartford Hospital, and involved with databases with the kids, and involved with differences. In other words, involved with identity theft fraud slanders, because this is also one of the things that the breaching method needs to hide that nature showing us. that breach constantly. That syntax with black and white. It is and has been tactical terror from what it's communicating for syntax to be with black and white. How each body is showing us the same color eyes in different color eyes at the same time. It's showing us about difference. For example, it's showing us the hyper difference of its body being functional, how its body is not just functional being hyper invisible but still discernible, but the parts of itself. How we could discern it as a hyper conjunction to all parts of everything, a certain way, distinct from all other identities of volume. Every identity of volume has a distinct identity of relationship to itself. But no volume is inseparable from its own, even something made up. Its method is inseparable from the value of its finite parts, or the difference of that in the order of the finite, difference from the grouped parts, and the difference of the simultaneous. Everything is different and a demonstration of the slash hyper simultaneous still. Ugh. So Ron Adams has been threatening me and has been extorting me with a on the north side of with people on the north side of my house named Officer Jerry Miller was pretending that he was filming me. And there were also people with the fire departments. Also an Inspector Mike. I don't know which one. I know there's more than one Mike associated with the fire departments, and they have roles with Russia, with Ukraine, with Korea, with and as one of the things that ties people that I didn't have classes with, who tried to make fake exceptions, who made fake exceptions. And Joshua Stryker is one of the ones at Trinity College at Hartford, Connecticut, had been involved with the names Intercities, who've been planting predicate acts on my street. I never saw on my street in my life. People associated with the medical corruption and legal corruption, foreign and criminally foreign influences, and delusions relative at the community center next to it with Jeremy Grove. He said that it has something to do with his neighbor and Kovinskis brothers and Joshua Stryker. I never saw any of them together. In other words, they tried to take a picture of me one time off campus and one time on campus, just walking by him, and they changed and fake everything, and they tried to take the exceptions to cover that up, like on Facebook. And in other words, it has something to do. I let some. It's not something to do. No, I've been trying to get to Weathersfield Police. Their Facebook page had people with the name Schumack involved with some medical offenders of kids, and they have their religious involved too, with some KKK black theme, Confederate flag theme, people at Trinity College who confessed with my neighbors. They had roles with some untimely deaths and predicate acts against me at the campus with this Joshua Stryker and people before that. Involved also with the neighbors of Dr. Shub of Modern Languages and his family involved with courts and people at the corrections offices and state judicial branch offices. These are also people with the Board of Education associated with John DeMoro and other locations and mayors before and after a Gold family. But a Gold family is increasingly involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and putting fake things in databases and all exceptions they're used with timed use / as of all exceptions use criminally foreign influence too, as their roles also with proven years apart, proven first forced child abusers, leaders of kids, and various natures of federal criminals that they had collusions with including pretending passions and emotions of other as their roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Joe Aiello was also involved with them. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with a former Mayor Gold and people involved with body dumping spots, with a O'Brien family and people with the name Christopher Cullen involved with people tied to a Jennifer Smith and a Kathy Tansey were influenced to roles with names tied to them involved with FBI and the Witness Protection Program and other natures of organized crime groups involved with corners of streets on Griswold Street where people have been lied to about me, about this too for some reason. I just know about that and had it confirmed to me and demonstrated to me. In other words, as their roles with this has something to do with that, and not just at those corners. But this is in Wethersfield, Connecticut, and these are people involved. A whole bunch of people at Trinity College have had, like, the intelligence community told people around me and people tied to them to lie about themselves and me and plant and try to record fake things. They have roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the courts themselves switching names, switching sequences, interstates, including in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center in that context, and with people like I'm sure it looks just like a Claudia Scalora. Never had a word of conversation. We're right outside my hotel room, right next to the World Trade Center, right before the attack. She's one of the ones that increasingly by Wethersfield and Connecticut Intercities Intelligence is one of the names Scalora. People tied to Scalora is one of the people in the names they brought up in their confessions, like when they were forcing the principal child abuser with other worse that he was put in jail for. The people with the jails had collusions with the same names, time roles with uses of body dumping spots, totally different body dumping spots, even if any or all of them were made up. And this is also relative to where and to how. No, in other words, all sides of criminal and civil cases and victims advocates associated with Sandy Hook. There are roles with the police forms refusing to identify themselves, and FBI has roles with pretend they need integrity, and with self-valuing how the breaching method controls groupthink and crowd behavior more so than anything, many ways, because it controls you guys. It has other things communicate for our founders than they communicated. So this Ron Adams is involved with people like a Joshua Julian is one of the ones on the principal Facebook page. Ron Adams was pretending things on Facebook that the news had pretended years ago as collusions at crime scenes with organized crime groups associated with a Joshua Julian, and him pretending to be against it on Facebook with a principal child abuser and some medical offenders and some prosecutors and their kids and some people that work for the courts or other positions and their kids and other intelligence and their kids, including increasingly New Britain's Central Connecticut State University has people of all natures, including Marines, including Judge Napolitano's a Marine. I don't know him. There's a Jay Salvatore. He's a Marine. I don't know him. Those are names that the intelligence involved with the World Trade Center as our side. But all sides were used remotely, including our side. But they brought those names into it when I was a kid and then as an adult, intercities. And the timing of it is critical. In other words, in other words, they don't understand the extent of it themselves. Even in other words, because like that's one of the things we discern. Just even with these main predicate acts that we can discern. I'm not even a lawyer. With replace, what nature communicates about black people's rights of eyes, and what our founders communicated, which is there was a breaching method, measuring and maintaining what everyone said, collusions against everyone's assault and other bodies, all different kinds of ways, factory, nature-oriented ways. Therefore, physically. Otherwise, that body would be sensed, including as a majority of people, including if it was everyone. And there were way more than 13. There were more than 13 colonies. It was a crazy thing in Trench. There were criminal foreign influence databases. There's an infrastructure that is all kinds of archaeological, slash hyper archaeological proofs of it being and having been associated with the torture, extortion, slavery method slash methods, roles to hide behind. Increasingly, because nature it knew would increasingly demonstrate to us. One of the many things that it is simultaneously slavery, true always as, is a human fact, human nature breaching method. One of the other things that is true always as is a human fact, human nature predicate acts delivery system method. And where and how that there are exceptions to that, it shows that it is also the difference of that, or as a criminal insidiousness nature delivery system method, or the difference of that. And like where and how we have the estimation with syntax, so logic, so reason, so soul. Tactical terrorism in a hyper-native way. Begin, behold, boxing. Please judge Napolitano. This Ron Adams said he was in a group with you. There's a guy who said he's going to stab me in the eyes, and he's tied to my neighbors who work with the police phones and people with or people with the police phones and Wethersfield town offices and other foreign and domestic military and families there, including Afghan leaders and kids involved with also overt criminal like Los Solitos and other people reportedly associated with criminal enterprises and for themselves too, or people associated with them, right, in the media. See, that's why we have to get me off the fake conversations with WFSB, with themselves and with others, including with doctors they pretended. They have roles of people who forged the name of a Dr. Shamsi Ali, too, and put me in all fake transcript with him about that. I never spoke with anybody about people surveilling my father by the police. A Leahy family and people with the name Lombardo have roles also with the Kevin Dillon and a police chief Cintron from Wethersfield involved with intercity police forums and departments, also with people named Collusions and Smith, and a whole bunch of people tied to them, involved with threats of violence in the police forging and switching names and lying about their motivations and sequence shifting. These are ones leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since, with people named Scalora, too, increasingly involved with predicate acts with other people like a Robert Rodriguez on my street planting evidence is fake ties, fake natures and ties to me, like trying to make it look like that. Get them on paper, one name in sequence with the interbranch, Judge Napolitano, please. And these are also people with the Facebook page of a principal upskirt nature and the digital offender, pretending predicate acts with the same people that pretending to be against these people with prosecutors and judges associated with past news articles and organized crime groups. Their patients and criminals are also, they run in and make a phenomenon where they're also increasingly just faking transcripts and fake recorded things, but they have all sides of the issues they pertain, and where they got issues like, okay, this is arraignment 500 arraignments in one day. This one, get down. Get them on paper, please. All gather around. Collusions have a Satan deep. In other words, a whole bunch of murders, untimely deaths, and relative confessions show communications racketeering worse than war crime roles A through Z, including the difference of who's guilty, use by the breaching method roles. More, the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, terrorists, the interbranch at the same time, differentially worse, but increasingly as collusions. Because everyone has juxtaposed, everyone has collusions at crime scenes, for example, right, with the predicate acts with facts clearer than day that we could discern relative to our black pupils' whites of eyes. in nature's course with all this ink blot in the way. Many pray, Doc sings. We're going to examine the tactically delusions wrought, criminally foreign influence takes on American history, the quality aspects of fact treatment, the premises treatment, the criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, and self-valuing sequence shifts that we're going to examine black pupils. First, we must understand the three natures of Native American founders, but with a nature of fact treatment nature and a quality of it that has been forbid. So we're going to examine the criminal insidiousness involved, nature involved with people pretending that while they, as styles, pretending to themselves and others when they hear anyone mentioning it. How, in other words, how we have black people's whites of eyes, and we could discern a predicate acts with facts method, singular roles as methods, pretending other for it. Where and how we are prevented the revelations that come with this. So please, with this vaccines, thank you. Wethersfield police also have a Joshua Schumack involved also with people next to where the Wethersfield police are now. And it has people where they were then and where they are now. Involved with increasingly with them with predicate acts with facts methods. And these are police. This is also relative. They did a research of the department and they used the word click. So they have little cliques with the department. And that was language that I was using a long time before that. And I never even went in there and they faked conversations with me as a kid and when I was an adult. As their roles, screening roles with criminal enterprises, as roles with the same names, had time collusions with the terrorists and with remote uses of America and of Saudi Arabia and of the sciences and camp departments is recorded, individually grouped it together, and of the religions, their differences. That's why at the beginning of the Old Testament, it says, only defend right here, where the names of the people of the sciences will come together in the part before it. But no one even knows about that because everyone's defending their difference about not knowing the most about the book out of sequence. Or the people that who attack the religions, valuing that, attacks of that, but valuing also as styles of collusions against science, against why it says only defend where the names of the people of sciences will come together. People attacking religions, the people defending with passion, they both can't defend their quality aspects of fact nature without being reliant upon, criminally foreign influence fact nature quality aspects in nature is recorded and delusion and tactical delusions in the exception and how this is recorded, exploited at other locations /S words is recorded too. A whole bunch of people tied to a Mark Violet and Kevin Justin Klavinskis and a Tim O'Brien and Andrew O'Brien and a Ray Claw. And I don't even know his sister's name. And she's reportedly involved with someone named Phelps and people with the name D. Simone with Newington Police, Rocky Hill Police, Hartford Police, etc. These are people with Sandy Hook, Newtown, involved with predicate acts against each age of fact nature, all kinds of predicate acts methods. And as people involved who have been speaking about crimes, these are sick people who have their job. And then they'll jump into other people's conversations, like presidents, pretending they couldn't realize that and how there were just a whole bunch of things that the presidents never had allowed the fact treatment nature quality or honesty of information to them. They're giving them fake transcripts to presidents. They're changing and faking all kinds of details, grouped ones and all together. Mass identity theft, fraud, slanders roles. This breaching method showed the identities of the branches in intelligence. They needed to pretend that they had integrity in the past and that the branches of government had a voice that had been represented and how they have to hide it now and then. In other words, while simultaneously nature's showing us Look what witch trials were in the slavery laws simultaneously. All these people could be faked together, and their difference could be used also remotely through themselves too. And that's what's going on. These courts have had collusions at and next to all natures of crime scenes and campuses, and as campuses as crime scenes, and next to body dumping spots at the same time that were timed use/estimate roles. And they don't even understand the extent of it. And this is at modern countries A through Z. These remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. The World Trade Center attack was effectively pulled off to keep their collusions with our countries where they kill each other and they have a peaceful side together. And the difference of that, self-valued roles with their defenses of that, incapable of defending that syntactically and of affording to be, let alone to protract anyone with short words proper by nature. Black pupils, we're going to keep our short words and we're going to make them protract. And this is going to this simultaneously one of the things true always that was about the witch trials and slavery simultaneously, even if the witch trials was made up. It was about the predicate acts of facts, the delivery system method, and or the difference of that, the criminal nature too, not just the breaching method, a fact-shaping nature breaching method, and therefore physical. So Ron Adams was also trying to frame me through time for being a doctor, and then even the YouTube algorithm. I could have pressed it, and because I've had pressed things before, and would have thought I was a doctor. I had to tell him no a bunch of times because they have people who make arrests to cover up what came before it. That's another thing the intelligence community is confessing, and their confessions they use as a torture method because they pretend other, but they switch and forge names, so it's recorded other anyway, and they make confessions. So these are people with Wethersfield Police with their Facebook pages and with the Facebook page of the Britain Superior Court involved with predicate acts after the World Trade Center attack, with people involved with it and with predicate acts before it too, at regular locations, not with legal cases, as the ones using the legal cases as timed collusions at crime scenes, other too, to hide that. And all of that was used remotely. It's not just literally legitimate, worse than criminal incompetence involved with people when they investigate things and they're saying they're not even speaking about predicate acts. When they speak about them, they have what's actually recorded is the breaching method showed the identities of the law. They already self-valued the criminal enterprise as being and having been grouped tactically wrong, syntactically as collusion/S, with that sickest part of campuses A through Z being and having been used to communicate other than nature and then our founders communicated for themselves actually. Black pupils. Here. So in other words, we're going to examine how they use self-valued roles with what they said, leaving out what they declassified. And we're going to examine the tactical delusions too of the psychiatry and the ones with the badges and the ones with the gavels, sick fakes with them. These are people putting people in juries, seating juries originally still, also collusions, also criminally incompetent, relative to sickly distinctly too. Let's get them on paper, one name and sequence, branches, bow. Well, I'm not sure we're going to force the quality of fact-shaping nature. President Trump don't disbelieve. That's what you were trying to force with January 6th. And they were trying to force it their other sick way. Because the difference, we have to do it, examine how the difference was used remotely. The difference between Republicans and Democrats when they speak. They're reliant upon pretending they don't even realize how to use, the breaching method did it. Forgiveness is because the breaching method makes them pretend anyone spoke for any difference correctly. In other words, it's like, in other words, all I have to do is keep it real, and it means space beings come out of nowhere. Black pupils see the whites of eyes. Attend, prepare. Who disbelieves? That's what we need. The who disbelieves act. In other words,